And you remember the toilets where you used to have to pay 2p or 20p to go to the toilet?
Oh,
2p.
I didn't have to. No.
2p
Pay
to
2p.
go to pee or not to pee.
2p to me. Sorry. Keep going.
I thought it, but you said it.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers. Because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
Honey, you're my sugar.
Today we have a very special episode with Megan Bennett as our guest. She is such a caring, lovely person, and I know you're going to enjoy this. She's got a big heart for family, big heart for the elderly, and for caring for many people.
Yeah, I loved how she talked about caring for the elderly and the gold that you can draw from them. But she also talks about dementia a lot. She gives some great tips in what you can do if you're caring for someone with dementia, as she has done with her father. So stay with us. I think you'll find this fascinating.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows who the mystery guest is and the other one doesn't. And today it's Ange's turn to find the gold in our mystery guest, Megan Bennett.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Megan.
So, Ange, I've got a few points for you. Now, you know Megan, but you don't know a lot about Megan, I don't think.
Yes. Yeah.
So, 3 points for you is Megan is actually the wife of Rob Bennett, who we had on our show a little while back.
That I did know. So Rob Bennett
yes.
was the one that did Iron Man.
That's right.
He was one of our earlier podcasts, wasn't he?
He was, and he had the motorbike accident. Oh, no, the mountain bike accident.
And he had the cancer treatment
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
And he was the first male to cry on the microphone.
Yes, that was very significant.
It was.
And special.
Yeah.
And Megan has 3 adult children and has just started a new job as a pastoral care person at our church.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely.
So let's welcome Megan into the show.
Come
on
join
in,
us, Megan. Woohoo!
Megan. Yes, come on in.
Whoop, whoop. So welcome, Megan.
Thank you,
It's
Ange.
so good to see you.
Yeah,
Now, I think about one of the first times I met you, because we have met and we do know each other, although I don't know a great deal about your history and your backstory, so I'm looking forward to getting into that today. But we were in a church setting and I was being interviewed and you were the interviewer. Do you remember that?
My goodness, isn't that a role reversal today?
I know. So how does it feel being in the other seat for a change?
It's a bit scary. I don't know what you're going to ask me.
But you are very good at interviewing.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
you are
Yes.
good
And
at thinking off the cuff. And
well, let's see how today goes. Eh?
yeah. So, I know married to Rob, you got 3 kids. And are they all grown up now? Like, what ages are they?
23.
Yeah.
Shelby's 23. Noah's 21. And Holly is 19.
Wow.
So they're adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All still living at home? Or?
All still at home, which
Oh,
I'm
wow.
very thankful for.
Yes.
But I know the day's coming quite soon. That
I know. That would
yeah,
be such
they'll
an
be moving.
emotional time.
I know. But how blessed am I that 23
Yeah.
and 19 and still at home.
Yeah, that is true,
Yeah,
actually.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I wasn't at home at 19.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate to have them all there still.
And so you've just moved into a pastoral care role within
Yeah.
the church. What
Yes.
does that look like?
Yeah, well, at the moment, it's just a lot of phone calls,
Yeah.
which is fascinating in itself. And it's amazing how people just really do appreciate being thought of.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed. So that's good. I love that. But, you know, it
These
will
are
be
people in the community, people part of the church, or
just people really in our church.
Yeah.
So my role is really to look after and love the people of the church, which I find really beautiful because I think, the church is like a hospital.
yeah,
And they come in wounded, or they don't have to be, obviously, but you know, it's the church's role to look after people and love them back to pure, full health. so that they can go out and be a blessing to others.
Yeah.
So I really love that. And just hospital visits and home visits and just ideas to just bless our people.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful. I've found the gold already.
Oh, there we go. Great interviewer.
But how did this become like something? Because for some people to think I've got to take care of another person, it could be a burden. It could be something, it's distracting me from my normal life, or I'm not somebody that likes to make phone calls. I'm a texter, get on the phone. People don't generally do that.
Yeah.
And particularly if someone is having a difficult time, we're lost for words, don't know what to say. It takes a special skill to be able to do that. So how have you attained those skills?
I just love people. And, I think we can all do the small talk, but after a while I just think, let's get to the nitty-gritty, like what's really going on and how can I help you? That's really the gist of it. And, sometimes in our busy world, people are working and everything, so you can't always ring them. So a text message is just as good, and they always get back to you when you text them. You don't always get them on the phone to have a chat, but yeah, you're right. Some people don't like that sort of straight up talk, so a text is great, and they'll always text you back, and you can always get down to the gold in everyone. Yeah, just sort of asking, digging a little bit, and people really, I think the bottom line is people just want to be listened to.
Yeah.
And someone on the other end of the phone listening to them or going out to their house. Just, I think you have to be a bit of a listener.
It's refreshing because we don't get that now. Most people are too busy talking about themselves, really.
It's so true. Yes. Yeah, true.
So has care been part of your professional career?
Well, I would say yes in a roundabout way. So when I finished school, I went to university and I studied leisure management.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been practicing it ever since.
And what exactly is leisure management?
Well, exactly. What is leisure?
Your own leisure? Or?
Yeah, definitely my own leisure.
Today I'm going to the beach.
I was thinking, is she on about hotel management?
No. So actually, when I graduated from uni, I thought I majored in adaptive recreation and tourism and outdoor recreation. And I was thinking cruise ships and 5-star resorts, climbing mountains, whatever, outdoor rec. But there weren't a lot of jobs. So there were an abundant amount of jobs in aged care. And I thought, okay, well, I'll do it until something better comes along. And I did it for probably 8 years and I just loved it. So I was basically in charge of 60 old people every day and I just planned their whole day for them. So all the activities. I didn't do the nursing side. I could not be a nurse. I just take my hat off to nurses. I admire them.
Bedpans.
No. That's so not me. No,
You're in good company here. We couldn't either.
Yeah, no. But I love to have fun and I love to just make people feel really special and valued. So I did the activities for the elderly and I just loved it.
I'm picturing you like playing checkers
or
chess. Was
I
it
did
all
everything.
That sort of stuff?
Yeah, I played bingo. We weren't allowed to call it bingo, so we called it hoi.
Why not? Why not bingo?
Oh, it was a religious home. And
okay.
It was gambling, although we didn't play for money. We played for lollies.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
instead of saying bingo, you just say, hoi.
Yes. We did all sorts of things, all sorts of activities and bus trips, and it was beautiful. And so, I was not entertaining them. I was just being a part of their everyday life. But they actually became part of my life and they were all like my grandmas. They taught me so much about living a simple life and being happy. It's not all about stuff because they came from an era where they didn't have, whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. And it was rations and that's what they were living in. And so they taught me just to live a really simple life and be happy. And they actually came to Rob and my wedding. I had a busload busload of them come to the wedding, and we had a little afternoon tea for them, a cake and everything. It was just beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah, they were like my grandmas and my granddads. So as much as I brought the outside world to them.
Yeah.
But they gave me so much more in return. And
I think we
loved
can
it.
often think, particularly if they're in an aged care home or something, that that they haven't got much to contribute to the world. But I love being around older people. Even my grandparents and that, they were a lot old. They were in their 90s, or my nan was in her 90s. I used to love just sitting with my nan, hearing about old times, listening to those stories, and you can just get so much wisdom. It is really like you do grow so much being around people that are older in a different generation to you.
Huge amount of wisdom.
Yeah. So what are the advantages you've found for you?
From learning from them.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's there's just the simple life, and just it's not stuff, it's family. And just keeping it simple, just nothing extravagant, just a simple life.
Yeah.
And you can be content with that.
Now, I remember from your husband's story when he was in here that he talked a lot about family, and it's obviously a big value for both of you, and probably why your kids are still at home.
Yes.
But I remember him sharing a story that when he'd come out from some treatment that he'd been in for the cancer, and all the family were there, and that he just broke down in tears because he realised that was his most important thing.
Yeah.
And so is that something you all share together? What do you do as a family that values each other?
Yeah. Just talking about that moment when the kids were all still at school, and I remember saying, this is a milestone. This is a memory that, to celebrate at the end of cancer treatment. It's way more important to celebrate that with Dad right now than be at school.
Yeah.
Who cares about missing half a day of school? I think we might have had the actual whole day off.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't matter about that. Like, they won't remember missing one day, but they'll remember they were there for Dad. And that's the message that we've always sort of instilled in our kids, and even in our marriage, that you're just there for each other, no matter what. There's, I don't think they were worried at all about missing school that day, but no matter what it is, that's secondary. It's being together as a family. So we have tried. It's got harder as the kids get older, obviously, but we've always tried to have one. Well, growing up, we had dinner together every single night, 7 nights a week. We'd sit around the dinner table. That's a huge thing for us.
And Megan makes really killer brownies too.
Oh, I do love a good brownie. So I've mastered that recipe.
Yeah.
Hence why the kids are still at home.
Brownies. But just sitting around the dinner table, what's your good part of the day? What's the bad part? Just every topic that you can think of. Sometimes I feel sorry for our son because the girls can talk about very girly stuff, and he's just got a whole new education, and we're like, we're educating you ready for marriage to a woman one day. Yeah. So, and vice versa for the girls. But, we just talk about everything, and we're very close and very open. So as they've got older, it's been harder to have dinners together because they're so busy. They're always out. So we've sort of tried to make one night a week a dinner together.
Yeah.
And it works well, and everyone actually really loves it, and they miss it if you don't, have it scheduled in.
I know a number of families that do that, particularly, as you say, when the kids get older, they're driving, they've got their own independence, living their own lives. Actually having that pre-organised day where the family are together, it keeps you all connected. I don't know if you do the same thing.
Yeah, we do. We even with the married kids, we make sure there's at least one meal a week that we're all together when we can.
It really is a key to family life, I think. I mean, it's different for us because we've only got one child. It's not like it's probably easier for us to organise that moment, but it can be quite difficult for some families to get their calendars to connect.
It's not easy as they get older.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting harder, and we don't want to, we don't want to tell them to be there. We want them to want to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing when your kids want to be with you as a
Yeah.
parent.
I think there's something powerful about sitting around a table with your family. I know we talked about it in one of our previous podcasts, and actually, like even on our social media, that seemed to get the most attention, is about how rich we are when we have a table full, and we're able to sit and share a meal together. And there's something so powerful about that moment, and I think it's something that we do need to keep as a priority in our family. So I love that you do that. I remember Rob sharing another moment when he had trained for, I don't know, some marathon or Ironman of some sort. Was it a triathlon?
I don't know. There's been a few.
Yeah. And he couldn't do it. So at the last minute,
Oh, that one.
you decided you would do it.
Yeah, I do remember. I so remember that one.
And I was so impressed that from no training, you just got up. And what was it that you did?
You know what? It's nothing huge for athletes, but for me, it was massive. I think it was something like a 500-metre swim, a 15K ride and a 5K run, something like that.
Wow.
And honestly, I love sport and I've always done it, but at that stage, I probably wasn't at my fittest. Definitely not at my fittest. And he had to get his appendix out.
Yeah.
And it was 1 week later that he had this event.
Oh.
And
So you had 1 week of training?
1 week. It's stupid. It's so silly.
Wow, you're a champion.
No. I wasn't a champion because I can't last, but that's okay.
You went in it. That's what makes you a champion.
It definitely wasn't about winning. It was for us as a couple. He was in his hospital bed and we were just concerned that he had raised quite a bit of money from family and friends and strangers even to give to this charity, and you can't just pull out. Like, that's not what you do. So I said, well, I'll do it for you. We'll be in this together, even though you're in hospital. I'm doing it, but we're together in this. And so he got out of hospital just before the race, and he set his bike up and he said, okay, go for a ride down the street. So I got on and rode 50 metres down our street and I went, yep, that'll do, that's fine. And it wasn't really fine. I swam. I got in the lake and I cut my foot on rocks, so there was blood. And I went, that's going to attract the sharks.
Yes, I'd be the same.
So
oh, no.
that freaked me out a little bit. So I swam, and halfway around the lake, there was a friend on the shoreline waving and cheering for me.
Oh, no.
And I was treading water. Hey, Sarah, hey. And there was this big buoy, a buoyant thing. And so I hung on to that and I had a chat to her and she's like, keep going. She's a triathlete.
Oh, right.
So she's like, keep going, keep going. Oh, okay, see you later. So then I got a bit tired. So I flipped over onto my back and I did
backstroke.
It was like a frog.
Frog stroke.
And I'm looking up at all the clouds thinking, wow, it's a beautiful day. Look at those clouds. What can I see in that cloud? Oh, there's a bit. And then the little surf ski came over, the guy on it, and he because I was last by far. And he's like, are you okay? So I'm fine. I'm
having a lovely time.
Birds that just flew over. And then I got out and then I had to do the ride. And that was like a little Sunday ride with a picnic basket on the front for me. And I'm like just waving to people. And then I had to do a run and, Rob says,
Megan
it was my style. Rob said, just grab a water and keep going. But I'd stop and say, thank you so much for volunteering and giving the water to everyone. That's so nice of you. They're going, keep going. So it was an
Megan's
experience.
caring for everyone along the way.
Caring nature coming out.
I had a great time. I dead last, and that's okay. But
You had a
sort
lovely
of fun.
Sunday.
Yes.
didn't inspire you to do any more?
Never, ever again.
I love that story.
I just think that's so, like, who thinks that 1 week out, I'm just going to do the triathlon? Like,
Look, it was never about getting a good time. It was about finishing it and honouring the people that had donated to the charity. So that's what it was about.
it seems that, like, charitable activities are very much a part of who you are, caring for people, loving people. So I'm not going to go the gold yet because I can already see it. Let's go back to, like, how life began for you. Where did you grow up? What was family home like?
Yeah, okay. So I actually grew up here on the coast. So
Wow.
I've been a local for a long time. I was born in Nambour Hospital and went to Caloundra Primary School, and then I actually...
It's actually rare to find somebody
Yeah.
that's born and bred and still living here as an older person.
Exactly. I think I worked out not long ago, I think I've been on the coast for 39 years.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
And outside, like Brisbane and
So you must have gone
London.
off somewhere
Yeah.
else in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to uni, did the leisure management, met Rob, and we got married in Brisbane. Then we went overseas for a year. So we came home from London pregnant with our first child, and we just went, where do we want to raise a family?
Yeah. And you
Brisbane
came back to
or
your
the sunny
origins.
coast? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
So let's
no-brainer.
start, okay, with you. You were born in Nambour. What was family life like? You got siblings?
Yeah, so I've got an older sister and an older brother. We're just 3 years apart. So my sister's 3 years older, my brother's 18 months older, and then there's me. And mum and dad, we had the most idyllic childhood, just a dream, basically. So mum and dad had a farm in Landsborough. So we grew up in Caloundra, but we'd go out there every weekend and just the cows, the sheep, the milking cow and horses. It was beautiful. So grew up here, just a really good, close family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's sort of...
Your dad was quite a prominent member of society too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had butcher shops to
Yeah.
start with. He had 4 butcher shops on the coast. And then he got into politics and he became the mayor of Caloundra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was good. I don't know if it was good when I was at high school, being the mayor's daughter. I didn't
Yeah.
love that, but I'm so proud of my dad.
When do you
Really
see a
proud of him.
butcher become a mayor? That's probably quite an unusual story.
Yeah, he's amazing. He didn't finish high school. He dropped out at grade 10 because he was told he would never amount to anything when he was at school. And then, he's just a very driven man, self-driven.
Yeah.
Hasn't ever had really a formal education, but he started. His dad was a butcher, so he was a jackaroo originally, and then he realised there's no future riding a horse all my life. So he then came back to Landsborough and worked with his dad as a butcher, and then he was conscripted to go to Vietnam.
Wow.
So he did that, came home from that, married my mum. They opened up butcher shops all across the coast.
So you grew up on a farm. Was it like cattle farm?
It probably, I shouldn't really say farm. It was an abattoir.
I was going to
So
say.
it's not
it was
really.
like- so you suddenly get attached to Dottie.
No.
Next thing, they're on the chopping block.
We had a pet Brahmin, which is so incredibly rare. They're not really a super friendly animal, but we used to pat this Brahmin bull and everything, and then a few months later or weeks later, it wasn't there anymore. Charlie the Brahmin. So yeah,
As a
He
young
has a really
person,
good
did you
strength
know
on
what was happening?
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I remember when I was probably 4 or 5, when my dad opened the abattoir. It was huge. It was a big place. I was about 4 or 5, and we got up at like 3 a.m., the whole family, and we went out there to watch the first kill. And, I just grew up with it. So it didn't faze me at all, and that's where the meat in the butcher shop comes from.
Yeah.
So that was no drama to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I think it's become such a big issue now,
Yeah,
hasn't it? I think it would be
has.
quite difficult owning a.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
Lots of regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
So then you went off to uni,
Yes.
Down
so
to
went
Brisbane.
to Brisbane. Yeah. Went to uni.
and you met Rob while you were at Brisbane.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you meet?
We met at church.
Yeah.
So our church, it had a huge young adults group, about 200 young adults, and it was quite a sporty church. So we played touch football, and I was in the good team, he was in the bad team.
As in,
Just
they
saying.
didn't play very well.
We always won. But no, we all played touch footy together, and that's how we met. And then we were in church together. So it was
Yeah.
a really great environment.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So met, got married.
Yeah.
Then you went overseas for a period of time.
Yeah. Went to London. We lived and worked in London. And that was great. Great just for the two of us to really, be a couple. No one
So
else
what took
around.
you out? What work took you over there?
I actually had chronic fatigue.
Wow.
Working with the elderly, I loved it, but it was very draining. And so I actually got chronic fatigue, and 30 years ago, that wasn't really heard of.
Yeah.
So I went to specialists and everything, and I got told I had love addiction.
Love addiction. Oh, wow.
I know, and I was like,
Yeah.
I've never heard that
And
phrase.
Rob and I were engaged at that point when I was diagnosed with love addiction, and my mum was with me. And
Does that mean addicted in falling in love, or?
I was just too much in love with my fiance.
Wow.
And my mum was with me, and we tried not to laugh. But it was like, are you serious? And
I've never heard that
yeah.
diagnosed
I know.
before.
No.
I'm a GP too.
Oh, well, he was a specialist.
Oh,
with,
it's a
I don't know,
specialist
yeah, he's a
term.
specialist. And it's funny, at the end, he said to me, you're going to smother this man, but I really wished my wife loved me as much as you love your fiance.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know where you're going with this, but I'm going to keep loving him. So, and here we are. Yeah.
So
Crazy.
you had chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
Over there.
So we decided that I would finish working with the old people,
Yeah.
and that would be around Christmas time of that year. And Rob was a contract draftsman at that time, and basically in the very same week that I had resigned, and I gave them a couple of months' notice, but he came home and said, I'm finished. They don't need me anymore. And so within 1 week, we both had no job really.
Oh wow. And you just moved over there.
No, we were still here in Australia.
Okay.
So that's when we went, well, maybe we're going to have to move to Sydney for Rob to get a better job and everything. And so we started looking in the newspaper, because that's what you did back then. The jobs weren't on the internet, they were in the paper. So we're looking in the newspaper, and there were no jobs. So we went, you know what? If we have to move anywhere, why don't we just go overseas? So we went to London, and Rob got a job like day one in an huge, what's it called, interior design company. And I got a job. I said, I don't want any stress, because chronic fatigue is brought on by stress. I don't want to work with the old people. They're just, I need a break. So I worked at the National Liberal Club in London
Yeah. Wow.
as a cloakroom attendant, which is the craziest job ever. And I'd get tips for sitting in this little booth all day taking people's
Hanging
jackets
coats.
from them.
Wow.
It was the
I remember
best.
the theatres used to do that.
great.
Little
Yeah,
cloak
okay.
rooms where, yeah.
Yeah.
And you remember the toilets where you used to have to pay 2p or 20p to go to the toilet?
Oh,
2p.
we didn't have to. No.
To pee.
Pay
To go to
2p.
pee or not to pee?
2p to me. Sorry. Keep going.
I thought it, but you said it. Sorry.
That's all right.
Back to it.
So how long were you in England for?
We were only there a year.
Yeah.
And then we came home because we were pregnant with our first child. So we wanted them to be a little Aussie.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't blame. Obviously, you've gone from cloakroom attendant to carer.
Yeah. Well, it's actually gone a little bit full circle. Before getting the job as pastoral care in our church, it's amazing timing, really. Probably, I think it was 2018, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, when I finished working with the elderly back in 1990, whatever it was, I can't even remember, 98, I said, I'll never work with Alzheimer's patients or the elderly. Like that's, I loved it, but that's a season that's finished.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously 30 years later, whatever it's been,
Your own parents.
your parents are getting older, and my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So, you know, for a couple of years it was okay, but then probably 2020 it started to get really bad. And so I would help. He still lived at home with Mum, and she was coping okay, but I'd just take Dad out, just down to the beach to give Mum a break and just to spend time with Dad. And that's when I bought this little book, and I just would journal. I'd ask him questions out of the book, and then I'd write the answers. And it was just a really beautiful way of us having time together and getting things written down that, you know, I'd sort of known growing up, but to have it written down is really precious.
Yeah.
And so I did that for about a year with him once a week. And then he started to go downhill a little bit more. And every time an Alzheimer's patient has anything really, like a cold or they have a little fall even, it sets them back. And so he'd had a fall, he'd had a flu-like thing, and so he was going downhill a little bit more. And it got quite bad, and Mum and I were trying everything to keep him at home, and not have to put him into a nursing home. So I've done that many webinars and seminars and read books and done workshops all about Alzheimer's. Even though I worked with those patients 30 years ago, I just needed more and more knowledge of how to do this for my dad. So found this perfect lady in America, and she follows a doctor who specialises in Alzheimer's, and basically it's bringing very natural ways into an Alzheimer's day-to-day life. And it's things like getting their circadian rhythm back on track. So not sleeping in the day, but sleeping at night. It's a little bit like a baby when you're training your newborn to sleep at night and not in the day. And get up when the sun gets up and go to sleep when the sun goes down. Things like that. And being outside exercising. Dad would do 2 hours walking every day, 1 hour in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and getting sunshine and fresh air, just being outside. Diet, no stress, the right supplements.
So it's kind of like almost full-time care.
Definitely.
That they need. And
definitely.
so you stood in that role?
Yeah, I helped Mum a lot with that. And she had other carers that she would pay to come in. But, you know, being my dad, I just did it, which you do. And I loved it. It was my heart was so in it because this is your dad.
Yeah, well, this is amazing that you could enjoy that so much, because I know many people that have had a parent with Alzheimer's, and it's not an enjoyable experience. No. And to watch somebody gradually, you know, almost you're losing them gradually, is very traumatic. Yeah. I know my grandparent, she eventually got Alzheimer's, and in fact, 2 of my grandparents did. And I remember they were in homes, and I remember going to the homes, and they'd come out with some weird and wonderful name, and that thinking that you're somebody that you're not. And as someone that is part of the family and you love them, the fact they've got no knowledge of who you are is quite distressing. How did you cope with that?
My dad, he's in a nursing home now. He's been
Yeah.
in a nursing home for 6 weeks. So we've kept him at home for 3 years. And doing it a really natural way and all those things I said, he totally changed. He was
Wow.
doing the sundowning hour very agitated. Once we got his circadian rhythm right, his diet right, his exercise, he just was so calm. He was the ultimate Alzheimer's patient, as in beautiful.
Yeah.
How was his memory?
Not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, long term was good, but short term was not good at all.
So he knew who you were?
He still knows who I am.
Wow.
He might not say my name, but you see it in his eyes and he'll smile. And so that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is such a blessing.
And where did you get this research from?
YouTube.
Yeah.
No, this woman, her name's Dr. Heather Sanderson, and she follows Dr. Dale Bredesen. He's the doctor of it all, and she's a doctor as well.
Yeah.
But they just, they just want you to go with the Alzheimer's patient in a really natural way. So Dad was on no Alzheimer's drugs. He never has been, and he's been very calm.
What about things like correcting them when they get things wrong? What's the advice around that?
Don't correct them.
Don't. Because
Yeah.
my nan, she thought she was on a boat travelling to India with all her family. She was in her home.
Yeah.
But she seemed pleasant, like she was having a
Yeah.
whale of a time in her
Yeah.
own mind. So we kind of didn't feel to correct her on
No.
that because she's in a place of contentment and
Yeah.
enjoyment.
I would just have so much fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh, where are we going to, Dad? And what's the
It's
sky?
rocky today.
Yeah, yeah. And they don't know any different. So
Yeah.
you have to actually get into their world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such great advice because often we're trying to pull them back into ours or, make them recall certain things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, wow.
It is a little bit hard when, you're talking about your children to their granddad and he doesn't have a clue. You just let it go. This is not him. He loves his grandchildren to bits, but just
Yeah.
because he can't remember them, that's okay. But on his wardrobe doors in his room, we've got photos, big A4 photos of each grandchild, each child, my mum and him on their wedding day, horses, just everything he loves. Just put it all up and it just brings joy, him looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, there's some amazing keys there, isn't there, really, for not just for them, but for you as the carer or as the child.
So precious. And the other thing is, while Dad was at home, I would set up my phone and just video us. And the video could go for an hour. But in that, I might get 1 or 2 bits of gold.
Yeah.
And I've got that forever.
Yeah.
And it's his voice I can hear. I can see him. It's just so precious to have those videos.
Great. And I loved what you said about, you'd sit down and you'd write down things that he would say. Not everyone gets to write a book about their life story and that. So
Yeah.
to get those facts even
Yeah.
will be valuable to you and to you and to your kids as well.
Dad was always extremely positive, like the most positive person I know. And only 2 weeks ago, he can talk, but it doesn't make sense at all. And he's really not there, right? And I walked into his room and I said, "Are you good, Dad?" And he said, "Always."
Wow.
Just that, it never goes away who they truly are.
Yeah.
And that is just the most beautiful memory I have.
Well, that explains you.
Yeah.
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 I love people. I just want them, no matter what stage of life they are at or what they're going through, I just want them to know they're so valuable. They're so
Yeah.
precious on this earth,
Yeah.
and every moment counts.
That is truly you, Megan. So, Ange, I think we're ready for some gold.
Yeah. Wow. I could almost cry, Megan, because you seriously have a heart of gold. And the way that you care for people, and you don't just see people, you put yourself in their shoes, and that's how you care for them. You don't care for them from your perspective, you care for them from their perspective. And that is just an amazing way to see people and to value people. And so I love that you do that. And you'd definitely be someone I'd want on my team if I ever needed caring, because I think even just the gentle way in which you speak and there's a softness and a beauty about you that's just going to make people feel comfortable and make them feel like they can have fun. And I love how you aren't just doing that for others, but you're also seeing the gold in them. So like for the elderly people that you've been around, you're showing them that they still are bringing enjoyment to other people. It's just beautiful. And I love the fact your whole family seem to actually embody this whole caring nature. So yeah, I'm sure your dad in particular and your parents are very blessed by you. They've raised you well.
They did.
You truly are a true gold digger.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll care for you anytime.
Oh.
Both of you.
I think we're about the same age. We'll probably be caring for each other.
We'll have fun
You'll just do
together
a
in
better
home.
job.
Oh, yeah. And Megan and I worked together for a little bit, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh gosh,
Yes.
we had so much
This
fun.
was at Triumph, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine us both in a retail shop together?
Oh, we had great fun.
Yeah.
Measuring people's bras.
We won't say what we did. I might get fired, but no, not really. It was all good. But it was a lot of fun.
Hilarious.
Oh,
It was
And we
great.
ate a lot of brownies.
We
so
did. We
on
had
our
a good
breaks.
time.
Yeah.
Between customers.
That's right, yes. Well, it was so great having you on the show today, and thank you for coming in and sharing your story and
Sharing
your
is
wisdom.
caring.
Absolutely.
Ba-dum-bum. So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a party. Honey, you're my sugar.